What's up, Benfica Nation? Welcome to another episode of Mr. Benfica. I'm your host, as always, the Mr. Mike Agostinho, and this is episode 145, and it's a Taça de Portugal Round 3 Portuguese Cup edition, and this is an episode I've wanted to do forever. Ever since I started podcasting, I thought about the day Benfica played Caldas. Now, it was always a long shot because Caldas are in the third division. They're in the Liga 3, and Benfica obviously are in the first division. And the only way it could happen was right here in the Taça de Portugal. And really, the only realistic way it would happen most likely was going to be in round 3. And it's the best round for it to happen because it guaranteed that the match will be played at. Well, it didn't guarantee that the match will be played as last week, unfolded. It wasn't guaranteed, but it guaranteed that Caldas would be the home team. And I think this round, these matches are much more special when the big team travels. If this match had been at the Estádio da Luz, it would have been 2/3 empty, most likely. Everyone that wanted to go could go. You'd have maybe not 2/3 empty. You'd have about 25 or 30,000 people there. But it would have been a much, much different experience. As you see behind me, we're back on video, by the way. And as you see behind me, I've got both jerseys up. I've got a Benfica jersey to one side and Caldas jersey to the other. Of course, that Caldas jersey I've mentioned in past episodes. That is a match-worn 1989 and 1990, match-worn Hummel jersey, Caldas Sport Clube, worn by my cousin Pedro Alberto, who is somewhere in the top 3 or 4 all-time scorers for the club. He scored a ton of goals throughout the 90s for the club, as a striker. And he gave me that shirt when I was a little kid. It was his first season with the senior team, and I've had it. I kept it forever. This was a match in which I definitely underestimated the emotional tug of war that was going to go on inside of me. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to apologize right here at the beginning of this episode. I apologize if it sounds like I was rooting against Benfica in this match. I was not rooting against Benfica, but I did not know. I didn't know how to feel about this match as it was played. It's one thing to analyze it, and I can do that non-emotionally, without any emotion. I can watch the match, talk about the facts, and analyze what happened, okay? What I was not ready for was the way my emotions were going to be played with in this match, okay? I've said it before. This is my hometown team, okay? It's my ancestral hometown, Caldas da Rainha. A beautiful, beautiful city in the west, as they call it, right on the coast, okay? Not far, about 45 minutes north of Lisboa. One of the southernmost parts of the Distrito de Leiria, of the Leiria district. Otherwise, it'd be a Lisbon derby of sorts, a regional derby of sorts. But Caldas and Óbidos and Peniche, those municipalities find themselves just north of that cutoff between the Leiria district and the Lisboa district. But this was really a match I'll never forget as long as I live. I'm psyched. It's on YouTube. Somebody posted it to YouTube in its entirety. I hope it stays there forever. And speaking of YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button right there. Here, we're back on the PTB Media Network's YouTube page. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash it, and hit the little bell next to it, and be alerted whenever my content on this channel goes either live or just goes up, okay? Back to this match, okay? The emotions inside of me were something I never felt before. I wanted Benfica to win, obviously. I am a Benfiquista. I never thought in my entire life I would hit a match where I wasn't so sure if I wanted, what I wanted to see. I thought this, going into this, I thought this was going to feel a lot like a Portugal-USA match, okay? And I've had a whole range of rooting interests in that, as they've played now a number of times. They've played twice in World Cups, and to be fair, I've rooted for each team once. Portugal and the United States. This was different. This was different. I could not pick between them. I literally could not. I kept reminding myself throughout the match that Benfica's the big team. Benfica needs to win this competition. And I had to remind Benfica needs to get past this. I initially thought I'd come in and I'd see Benfica score a couple of goals and then root for Caldas to get one, to keep it respectable, if you will, a 3-1 or a 3-2, a 2-1, something along those lines maybe would be great. As the match played on, I found myself completely unsure. Nothing made me happy, to be honest. I didn't want either team to lose. I came to that realization around the half-hour mark that I literally did not want either team to lose. And I know that that's not possible in a cup match. It definitely was a match that I did not expect to obviously play out the way it did, but it's more special because it did. I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life, obviously. I went to my father's house, watched it with him and with my son and my mother. Although my father was 100% in Benfica's court in this one, and he's the one that grew up there. So it goes to show he's the one that grew up there. He's the one that watched matches in that stadium when it was a dirt pitch, when there was no grass. He was in the house. My grandfather, I was going to talk about this on the preview, but I didn't know if the story was true. But over the course of the past couple days, the Caldas local newspaper, Gazeta das Caldas, started releasing and re-releasing articles. And it turns out the story my grandfather told me when I was 7 or 8 years old turned out to be true about the time Benfica went to the Mata, where they played this one, and lost 3-2 to a Caldas team who was, I think, relegated at the end of that season from the first division. And they haven't been back since, in 1958. I didn't know that story was even true. I thought maybe I had imagined it, but it turns out it was true. So the last time Benfica played at that pitch, Benfica lost 3-2 in 1958. In 1961, I didn't know about this match. I learned about it too after recording that preview. This was the last time these two teams met in the cup at the Luge. Benfica won 11-0. Okay, so this is the type of history coming into this match. I really had mixed. I can't go back to saying the mix again. I apologize. I apologize to anyone listening. This is going to be a different kind of episode because I felt completely differently about this match. A part of me almost cheered when Caldas leveled. I have to admit it. It was the weirdest thing because I was worried at the same time. For my stomach left my body. I mean, it felt like I was just completely gutted on one end. And then on the other end, I see the joy on the faces of players who I have followed. Heck, the joy on the faces of players I communicate with from time to time. Caldas is a small city. It's a very interactive fan base. I spent all of last week, swapping messages with a number of fans, with a number of even players, okay, on the team. I got emotional watching the captain, Tomás Militão, coming off when he had nothing left to give. And he's applauding. He's applauding. This is an amateur player going 100+ minutes, or I think he made it 110 minutes, playing center back against Benfica. I shouldn't say I don't know. This actually was the type of match. This is what happens at this round. Needless to say, it took less than 24 hours or maybe it took about 24 hours for our neighbors at the other side of the Escudo Circular, the green side of Lisbon, if you will, to learn the hard lesson of how hard this round is. But it's not the first time they went out. I remember a few seasons ago when they lost to Alverca. Alverca plays in the same division as Caldas. Today, Sporting lost to Varzim. They play in the same division, just in the other section as Caldas. They have the same number of points practically. One has 11, the other has 9. Okay. So for everyone laughing yesterday at Benfica, this is a difficult round. Yes, I know Porto had an easier time of it playing against Anadia today. I think they put 6 on them, whatever. The key was that they scored early. When in these matches, when you score early and when you break down the confidence of the underdog and they stop believing in themselves, it's a lot easier to coast through the match and get your 4, 5, 6 goals. There was no breaking the spirit of this Caldas Sport Clube side. Not even the goal broke their spirit yesterday. Would have been completely different if Benfica scored early, but they didn't. Benfica played slow. Benfica gave away a lot of ball. Benfica looked and played like they were not expecting that kind of a fight. And I spent the last 24 hours thinking about this, guys. I really have, because first of all, I have been processing my own feelings and emotions about this match. I woke up this morning feeling an immense amount of pride for Caldas Sport Clube and an immense amount of relief that Benfica survived and will go through, because I do believe this is the year Benfica is going to lift this cup. I think with this manager, who clearly showed that he does prioritize these matches, it was not his fault that this didn't work out the way it should have. He put a strong team on the pitch last night, and I was excited to see that. I still don't agree with going with the backup goalies in this competition. I think there's league matches where they can be used when matches are comfortable, when you have a comfortable lead. It's never easy to get minutes for your backup keeper. But this is a trend that only started 15 years ago or so, of putting the backup goalkeepers, in the cup competition. It's a trend that started in this century, let's say, post 2000. And in fact, even Caldas followed that trend. Their manager, Zavala, put the backup goalkeeper, Wilson Suarez, in goal yesterday. He left his starting keeper on the bench. I guess it's just accepted now in Portuguese culture, and they do this in Spain too, that the cups belong to the backup goalie. But aside from that, Roger Schmidt put out as close to a strong team. He put out a stronger team than Jorge Jesus put out in any cup matches. Okay, maybe other than the 2 finals that we lost. Okay, and Jorge Jesus did not manage the first one. The first one was managed by Nelson Verissimo, and then the second one was managed by Jorge Jesus, where we lost to Braga. Other than those 2 matches, this is the strongest team Benfica has put out in a cup, theoretically, outside of a final. Now, we've complained for years about too much squad rotation in these matches. Now, we're getting complaints come from Benfica Nation all over the world, that he didn't rest these guys, that he didn't rotate the team enough. It's like, you cannot have it either way. You cannot have it both ways, excuse me. Okay, you can't have your cake and eat it too. I think Roger Schmidt approached this correctly. He was given a terrible press conference on Friday in the lead up to this match. None of the questions regarded this match, and I think he was annoyed by that. And he made mention that he's studied this opponent. And I know for a fact that the college manager acknowledged the classiness of Roger Schmidt, and that he studied the opponent, and that he gave college the due respect. But it took a German manager coming to Portugal to pinpoint and to show the importance of the cup competition, because it is important. Maybe it doesn't pay out millions. It doesn't put you in the Champions League. I get it, but it's important. Everybody wants to be in the Jamor on the final day, lifting the cup. And now that the finals are back at the Jamor, even more motivation. It looked like Benfica took the pitch yesterday a little bit overconfident, playing slow. They were playing slow. There was no question. Some of it looking, because they're looking ahead to Porto on Friday. It's possible. I think they thought that if they just controlled the game long enough, eventually they would break them down. They'd break college down. They'd get on the scoreboard. College's spirit would go down, and they'd be able to see it out from there and probably add 2 or 3 more. However, There was no breaking the spirit of this team. And I said it in the preview, the Mata Encantada, the Enchanted Forest, it's a special place. And now I think everyone has seen that. I'm also very, very proud tonight of the respect Benfica showed to Caldas and vice versa. Before we break down this football match, let me just say one thing. You will notice that unlike most away matches for Benfica, this was not a Benfica crowd. And I know for a fact there were a lot of Benfiquistas wearing black last night. Okay? There were a lot of Benfiquistas wearing black. Maybe not half of the fans in black, but almost. Okay, so plenty. This could have very easily been a sea of red. There was no policy about not wearing Benfica gear. A lot of the pictures of the people I know and a lot of the things you saw on TV was fans wearing the gear of both teams, which is exactly what I would have looked like. BTV was at the Casa do Benfica before the match. Okay, Simão Sabrosa was there representing the club at the Casa. Casa number 2. Okay, Casa number 2 is Caldas da Rainha. And Sara Oliveira was there, and she was interviewing different people. You could see even at the Casa do Benfica there was swag from both teams. Most people were wearing one item of clothing of each team. There was a Benfica jersey with the Caldas scarf, vice versa, Caldas jersey, Benfica scarf. And they were all mingling and getting along with each other. Okay, they were sharing drinks. They were laughing. They were enjoying themselves. There was no climate of war in this match, the way there has been in visits to places like Famalicão or Portimonense, visits to other places where there was no chance. This is another thing that meant something to me. You did not hear one anti-Benfica chant. You did not hear, pardon my language, you did not hear Filhos da Puta SLB anywhere in that stadium, and I'm damn proud of that. I'm damn proud of that. Both sets of fans supported their clubs and did not stoop to insulting the other. In fact, I saw a video on Facebook today on the Pelicans, which is one of Caldas' supporters group's page, of the Caldas players saluting and being saluted, applauding and being applauded by the Benfica fans, the Benfica supporters section. Not the Benfica fans where it was fans from the city who are Benfica fans, but in the supporters section, the actual traveling Benfica fans. There was a mutual respect. You saw Chiquinho consoling Diogo Clemente for missing his penalty kick. You saw João Mario, after a short celebration, converting the final penalty kick and quickly going to congratulate Wilson Soares, the Caldas goalkeeper. You saw the Benfica players congratulating the Caldas players. I think the Caldas players earned the respect of the Benfica players in this one. And I can't stress enough, amateurs versus professionals. There are 3 professional players that were wearing black and white yesterday. 3 players are on professional contracts. The rest of them are going to work in a couple of hours. I'm recording this on Sunday night on October the 16th. It is about 11 p.m. here in the United States on the East Coast, which means it's 4 a.m. in continental Portugal, in mainland Portugal. The 20-plus players on that roster that are not professional are going to work in a couple of hours. You're going to be heroes at their job, by the way. Imagine going into work the weekend after playing Benfica and having the whole country and really the whole world watching you, because this match, which was intelligent, was put on RTP and was made readily available to Portuguese communities everywhere. Everybody saw this. You don't get a better platform than that. And I was thankful for that. I thought I was going to have to do some kind of MacGyver thievery and some kind of online piracy to get access to this match. No, it went right on RTP and RTPI, RTP Africa, you name it. It went around the world. These guys are going to report to work this morning. Heroes. I promise I am going to get to Benfica. Okay, but I have to get this out here. There's an immense amount of pride that I'm feeling for the hometown team. Now, I want and I believe Benfica will go on to win this cup. I do believe that this year it's going to happen. Fans of Benfica Independent, you'll know what I'm talking about when I'm saying Baquero and Magda are going to go to Jamur this year, okay? All right, it's been the running thing over the years. They've never been to the Jamur. I think it's going to happen this year. I truly, truly believe that. I may be proven wrong, but at this moment, I truly believe it. And hiccups like this happen. And on the Benfica side, I think this was a good thing. This was exactly what the team needed right before the Clásico. Right before going into the Estádio do Ladrão. Right before going to play. Remember, they're going to play against 14 on Friday. There's no mistaking it. Okay? The other side is already playing their mind games. They're already using their allies in the media to whip up a storm. There's already all kinds of accusations of that we're going to that we signed John Brooks just to injure their players. Heck, I was excited by the possibility of that. I'm not going to lie. A Portista friend of mine said, what a vergonha, what an embarrassment when and you've probably seen the video by now, Benfica returning from Paris and John Brooks walking down the steps and someone says, Brooks, he says in Portuguese, I'll say it in English, it's time to break Pep's leg on Friday. And you can see Enrique Araújo hearing that and laughing. And all of a sudden, the big bad Porto is just so sensitive and just their feelings are so hurt. Something that this is a fan base that hangs dolls of Benfica players from viaducts looking like they're on a noose hanging next to a referee. This is a fan base with unrivaled violence in this country. That is a club that runs solely and is fueled solely by hate and hate for Benfica. That is a club that needs a crazy amount of emotion to play the game. They rely on emotion to play. They don't rely on their own abilities. They don't rely on playing football. They rely on mind games. They rely on making up stupid things like this whole thing about centralism, blah, 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 centralismo. That's all you hear from these guys. It's funny, though, when they play a northern rival, they always win easily. And they want to talk about centralismo, but look at what's going on between them and Portimonense and the Nakajima deal, right? It's all over. Funny that they're changing the subject to defer attention away from that. There's a huge criminal element in their fan base. The leader of their clock is an absolute disgusting, violent human being, Macaco. Okay, he should be banned for life from football at this point, but he's not because they are so politically powerful. I think Benfica struggling in this match was exactly what Benfica needed. I think it's exactly the wake-up call they needed after having good results in the Champions League. You can kind of start to get a little bit of a swollen head. You can start to think that things are just going to come together. Now, I'm very, very confident for Friday. I'm very confident. Not all Benfiquistas are because they're not seeing between the lines. All they see is a struggle against a third division team. But there's a reason for that struggle. And a lot of the things Caldas did, Porto are not going to do on Friday. Benfica thrive when they're playing against a team more to their level. It is with teams of a lower level that they struggle. And to some extent, that goes true for all big clubs. Because clubs change the way that they're going to play. But, again, this Caldas team did not just sit in until they were completely gassed. When you get past, 90 minutes, there was nothing left there. Maybe even after they equalized, I think they used all the fuel in the tank to get that equalizer. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And we'll talk about Antonio Silva. And again, there's a disgusting element of our fan base that's already starting. I think more, actually, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it's not really in our fan base. It is those outside of the fan base trying to destabilize the kid, trying to divide the fan base, trying to start the narrative that this is somehow an overrated 18-year-old. An 18-year-old, mind you, that put Vlahovic in his pocket in the Champions League. An 18-year-old that stopped Mbappe. An 18-year-old that contained Neymar when he needed to. An 18-year-old that's already suited up against Lionel Messi. Okay? He made one mistake yesterday. One mistake, something that's happened to every single football player that's ever played. The difference with Antonio Silva is that he plays at center back. And this is why it's so hard for young center backs to break in, because you make one mistake like that and it costs your team a goal. If an 18-year-old center midfielder makes that mistake, yeah, possession is turned over, but the team regroups and they get the ball back. That doesn't happen here because he is the last man back. And I'll talk about it in a minute, but how about let's talk a little bit about Elton Late on that play. He shouldn't be let off the hook. That's a goal he cannot allow. He cannot get beat between the wickets like that. Ever. No matter how little you've played. That is one goal that no goalkeeper can surrender. Okay, so it's not all on Antonio Silva, and I'm very confident in Antonio Silva on Friday. I'm very confident that Roger Schmidt is very confident. He knows his players very well. He's a man that is not emotional, that does not make decisions emotionally, unlike their manager that we're going to see Friday night, who makes every decision emotionally, who uses emotion to rile his team up. No, Roger Schmidt doesn't do any of that. Roger Schmidt's going to put his team on the pitch. He's going to have a clear plan. And guess what? For the first time in a couple of years, and it's only really happened once in my memory, but so for the second time in my recent memory, we're going to go into the Stadio do Ladrão fearless. We're going to go in there without fear, just like we went into the Parc des Princes, just like we went into the Allianz Arena against Juventus. We're not going to go in there in fear, Porto, okay? A 6-0 win over Anadia is not going to make Benfica tremble when they go there. Again, like I said, I think this match, being as difficult as it was, is going to turn out to be a good thing for Benfica in this in the long run and in their preparations for the match coming up this week. All right, let's get right into the match then. Okay, I'm going to put up the sofa score here, and if you just give me a minute here, I will put up the sofa score. I should have the lineups up. I believe I put that there beforehand. There it is. And it's going to be hard to see, so I do apologize, okay? It's going to be hard to see, but I'm going to put up Benfica's match here. This is the only place, because it's in the Cup, there's a lot less available because it's the Cup. And why is it not popping up? That screen is frozen, but there is a lot less data available for this match. These cup matches, for whatever reason, Goal Point doesn't create anything. FotMob has almost nothing to show for it. Most of the sites that I like to use have little to nothing to show, and suddenly I was looking at this before and it was here, and now it looks like it's gone. And I don't know where the match analysis went. I had it here. I had the lineups, and now it is gone somehow. I guess I can go from memory, but let's see. I can go off memory. I'll start with Caldas 11. Let me unshare that screen. I don't know what happened here on SofaScore all of a sudden. It was fine literally 10 minutes before I started recording. I'm going to try one more time to see if I can get this up here and see what we can get here. Yeah, it's not coming up. I don't know why. I can stop the screen share. But anyway, I think I can remember the the information here. So in goal for Caldas was Wilson Suarez. They played with five across the back in this one. The wingbacks were Januario and Silva, I think. The center backs, okay, you had you had Jordi Marcelo, you had Tomas Militao, and you had Andres Souza. Andres Souza was the man of the match on SofaScore before it disappeared. He had a 7.6 rating. He was the man of the match for Caldas. And then in midfield, you saw this is gonna really stump my memory here. In midfield, as I think back for a second, so you had Andre Pech, you had trying to think who they started with. You had Leandro Borges, and you had yet an, now I'm annoyed. I know up front there was Tarzan, and there was let's see, we had who else played. Now my mind is drawing a blank because I had it prepared and it's gone. I apologize for that. Maybe now without the screen share I'll be able to see it. Let's see here. Doesn't look like I have it. I don't know why I don't have it suddenly. But anyway, I'll just talk about the college guys as they play. Uh, for Benfica, it was easier to remember, of course. So Benfica had Elton Leighton goal across the back. You had, as you know, Alexander Ba was sick. He didn't play. Gilberto gets the start. Not a good outing for Gilberto to be honest. Antonio Silva and John Brooks start across the back. That's what I predicted. The left back was Grimaldo. He got to play. I thought Ricic was going to play, but Grimaldo got the start. Tino and Enzo start in midfield along with Auschness. That's a three-man midfield. And then you got the start going to Rodrigo Pino and then Draxler and João Mario. This Benfica team was a little bit disjointed. Okay. Let me say something. There is one criticism I can make of Roger Schmidt in this, and it's not a criticism I should have had to make. So for Roger Schmidt, he should have brought either Gonçalo Ramos or Rafa to this match and had them on the bench. Rafa specifically is what this match needed when it got difficult. His pace was something that Caldas was not going to be able to deal with, especially late in the match when they were tired, and you could see João Mario was outrunning them. The fatigue had set in. They're not professionals. I thought that Rafa should have taken up a spot on the bench and been there just in case. Okay, just in case. I know Porto is down at the end of the week, is down the road at the end of the week, but again, I thought that he had an opportunity there to have him in case exactly what happened, because it's always a possibility. That said, it should not have come to that. But Roger gives Draxler some minutes. I expected that, and I'm a little frustrated with the lack of patience right now from Benfiquistas with Julian Draxler. This is a guy that was injured. When you watch him play, you can see that he knows what he needs to do, and that it's just not there yet. I've heard the commentary and a lot of people I respect, by the way. I'm not insulting anybody, but saying that he's been there long enough, he has enough time to be adapted. I don't think it's an adaptation. It's still a healing process from an injury, and it's still a fitness issue and a touch issue, if you will, and getting into the syncrasies. There was also something going on with everybody's passing in this match. I don't know if it was the new pitch. Okay, again, I talked in the preview about how they placed the new pitch down. The pitch held up. Yes, there was a lot of people falling, but the pitch never rolled up. It never came up like a carpet. The lack of time to root did not seem to be an issue. I'm wondering if that was some kind of hybrid pitch that had, natural grass mixed in with artificial grass. I'm not sure. But, I mean, that pitch was laid in, and the next day the Portuguese Federation announced that the women's youth national team, the U17, were going to play World Cup qualifiers or Euro qualifiers there next month. So clearly the pitch is of a high quality. But for some reason, the Benfica players were falling. a lot. Okay, and the passing was not on. It just was not on. Now it's easy for people to watch the match and you hear it. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Facebook. It's all over podcasts, YouTube shows where everyone just says that they're throwing their meat in Portuguese. They're sleeping. And I really don't like that expression because even at the low level I played at, that I managed to get to, and I got to the equivalent of a fifth division here in the United States. Okay. So I never played, for example, at the level I was able to coach at. But even in those moments and even in those levels where I played against I played against some professionals, ex-professionals, on different Sundays. I did take the pitch and we played against former professionals a couple of times. But even at that level, there were days where things just were not going right. And you hear it from, of course, because I played at a Portuguese club. My club played at a Portuguese club. So people that watch us were Portuguese people. You'd hear it. Estás a dormir, you're sleeping. Acorda, acordo. You'd hear it all the time. That wasn't the issue. And I don't think that was the issue for Benfica here. It wasn't a matter of sleeping. It was, the team looked tight as the game went on. I think they expected a light match, an easy match, and they didn't get that. But I think they were trying to do things, and the bodies weren't responding because maybe they didn't prepare correctly for this match, individually. I'm not sure what their accommodations were. I don't know where they stayed. I don't know, how they trained in the lead up to the match. I don't know if they went light because they know, if they were focused on Porto a little bit more, or at least mentally thinking about Porto, or still thinking about, Paris, because that was just a few days earlier. So I think there was a little bit of a hangover from Paris still. They played Tuesday, and it was Tuesday to Saturday. There's usually enough time there, but they've also played a lot of They've played every 3 days for a couple of months now. And it just looked like they were tight and things weren't coming off. Okay. I think they were trying to do the right things and the execution wasn't there most of the time. Now, I also think matches like this, and this is why you pay a premium for these kinds of players. This match was screaming for a Rafa Silva or a David Neres. I understand why both of them weren't there. Neres especially. But when you're facing a compact team like Caldas was, and they were very well organized, manager José Vala, I salute you because that team managed to stay well organized without sitting in with two deep lines. They played. They came to play. They were, and it's amazing to think an amateur team took the pitch against Benfica, and just after watching them in Paris a few nights earlier, saying we're going to take it to them, we're going to try to play with them, and they did try to play, and they did create, opportunities, maybe not on target. Obviously, they don't have the same quality in the in the very specific areas of the game. The striker Tarzan, he had a night where he wasn't really. I mean, he worked hard, but he really didn't get many opportunities in front of goal. There were a couple chances. I mean, there was a shot. I think it was my boy Januario who I actually exchanged a few messages with this morning. I think he was one of the guys that got a great shot on in the first half that went wide. College got a couple of opportunities, but they did not really penetrate. The problem was Benfica also could not penetrate and get in behind that defensive line. Too many passes were side to side, backwards, and they were slow. It made Caldas' job a little easier because they could just stay in position, hold their shape, and wait for that forward ball, that cutting pass to come through. And they cut it out every time because they had more people there. It's as simple as that. They had more people there. So they cut out almost every single one of them. Benfica's goal comes from, it starts with the substitution at halftime. Peter Musa replaces Rodrigo Pinho. I expected more out of Pinho, to be honest. He's shown more in the past. And I thought given this opportunity that he would have really grasped it. But at the same time, again, the dribblers weren't there. So there was no Neres and no Rafa. And what happens is now you're asking João Mario and you're asking Draxler, a maybe 40, 50, at best 60% Draxler. And I don't mean in terms of health, I mean in terms of form and just comfort. And you're asking those guys to take the roles of two guys that absolutely break lines with the dribble. When all else fails, Rafa gets into space and he takes off. He makes defenses, get unorganized because he beats one, and then they have to shuffle around and try to cut the angles. Nedge does the same thing in a different way. Nedge a little more side-to-side dribbler. But what happened is not having those guys there affected João Mario's play. It affected Draxler's play. It definitely affected Pinho's play. It made Gilberto look like the Gilberto we didn't, get excited about when he first arrived. We got a decent performance from Grimaldo, but he again, could only go so long. Only had so many minutes in the tank. You didn't get the type. You also lost a little bit in terms of what you can get from Enzo and Tino. Tino didn't have a very good first half. His passes were missing the mark. He had just signed. Of course, he just signed his extension till 2027 with a huge buyout clause. But clearly, he is in the plans for the club for the long term. But it looks like he didn't quite have it on this one. Again, there could have been some fatigue there. He at halftime he limped. He limped to the team room. You could see him, and I think as a precaution he was subbed off. You saw Diogo Gonçalves come in, and I can hear the groans from everybody when they see that poor kid. We can't have all stars in the team either. And players do need to play as much as, I really, my only criticism is not bringing Rafa and not starting Odie. I think if Odie plays this game, we win it in 90 minutes. I know how criticized he is as well and how he doesn't play well with his feet. I pointed out last week that he's no worse with his feet than Donnarumma is, and people regard Donnarumma so highly as a goalkeeper. I think with Odie in goal, we win this game. Okay. Petr Musa jumps off the bench, and early on, Benfica start the second half much better. They have clear intentions, like they've done all season under Roger Schmidt. The second half, they start well. And then Musa creates that goal simply by he beats Mili. Mili is the nickname for Tomas Militão, the captain for Caldas. He's already kind of tired, and Musa uses a nice dribble and then a good burst of speed to get by Militão, and then he fires the ball into the far post. Benfica take the lead, and you think from that point they're gonna run with it. I thought maybe Caldas were gonna retreat a little. We're gonna be down a little bit emotionally, but that's not what happened. Caldas regrouped, and after 5 minutes or so recovered from surrendering that goal. And Benfica was all too happy, in my opinion, to stay with the 1-0 lead. Now, there was a key moment here where Musa has a chance to score. Okay, he gets in the box. He has the goalkeeper beat. All he's got to do is look up, and he sees Draxler wide open, standing at the penalty spot. It's a clear, just square, easily, an easily delivered square ball right onto Draxler's feet. And for all the trouble Draxler may be having, his feet are still golden, and he would have found the back of the net. Instead, Musa goes for goal himself. He never picks his head up and sees Draxler. Instead, he keeps his head down, looks at the ball, fires at goal, and it gets blocked. That was Benfica's opportunity to go up 2-0. That would have cemented the match. And you cannot miss opportunities like that and expect to not be punished even by a third division amateur team. Of course, the goal comes in the 73rd minute, and it's the ball's being swung around the back. Benfica's still in control, but Caldas trying to go for it, right? But at this point, it didn't look like Caldas were going to create any more opportunities, and this one falls from the sky. Brooks plays the ball square to Antonio Silva. Antonio Silva takes his eye off it for a second, overstretches. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. He took his eye off it a little bit, and the ball gets out of his reach and then jumps up. And before you know it, he's colliding with Gonçalo Barreiras, who had just come on. Gonçalo Barreiras and Marcel Marques, had just come on. And I told my father, I said, These two guys scored off the bench last round when Caldas played against Sporting de Covilhã. These guys came off the bench and they both scored to make it 3-0. You know, it was 1-0 when they came on, and they each got a goal. And he looked at me like, oh, you know, and I said and you know, they collide. Antonio Silva and Barreiras collide. Barreiras gets right up. He's not looking for a foul. He's not looking at the referee. He pops right back up. 20-year-old kid has only played for the club. There's a handful of them that have only played for the club. He's been at the club since he was 8 years old. He goes in on goal. He's still being pressured by Antonio Silva, who gets up. But he manages to just get the shot off any way possible. And really, Elton Late, I don't know how he's not prepared to save that. He does the one thing that he can't do on that one. Now, this goal for me, and it's not me just trying to protect an 18-year-old player like Antonio Silva, but the goalie's got to have that, okay? The goalie has got to have that. I know he's a backup and he's seen very few minutes, but if you want to see minutes as a goalkeeper, that's one you cannot allow. It goes right through the wickets and it finds its way in. The stadium erupts. The Mata erupts. Like I said, I'm torn at this moment because part of me is excited for the club, for the city, for the fans, for the player, for all of them. Because I know these players are, you know, living a dream come true in this match, and suddenly it's all level. And I'm thinking to myself, I thought Benfica were just going to snap it back on and say, all right, enough playing around, let's go get a goal. But a lot of squandered chances by Musa, by Draxler, by Diogo Gonçalves, you know, a lot of poor deliveries too. We did not get good deliveries in this match, whether it was from João Mario, from Gilberto, even from Grimaldo. A lot of the deliveries weren't that good. Grimaldo had an opportunity to make it 2-0 as well. He put a ball off the bar. Again, not finishing these opportunities, not taking the opportunity to end the match. Hurt Benfica in this one. And it just, you know, it was a night where things just went wrong. I mean, and the team did not seem as mentally into it as they should have been, and it's you can understand why. I mean, even in my coaching career, I was in a situation where we play in an MLS team in a friendly, not even a cup match, and they let us hang around. And guess what? We scored. We made it a close match because they, much like Benfica, were just passing side to side, passing it backwards, waiting for the clock to expire, just really trying to get out of there. And you know, our kids went out. We were a U23 team playing against an MLS team in a charity match, you know, in front of a lot of people too. For us, it was a big crowd, and we were just inspired. And for these guys, they're used to playing in front of 2,000 or 3,000 at best, you know. Some games they play in front of less than 1,000. Some games some road games they'll play in front of less than 500 fans. So to have their entire city basically in their stadium, or watching at home or outside the stadium, because I know, for example, one cousin, the one that gave me that shirt, the one that played in that shirt, he got a ticket, but he's a legend at the club, and I think he has connections. He also is a former teammate of the manager Zavala. But my other cousin, he didn't get a ticket. He wasn't able to get a ticket, and you know, he sent me some pictures where they were outside the stadium, and they saw the Benfica's bus come in, and they cheered for the bus, and then he took his little daughter to see Benfica's bus, but then went home to watch the match at home on television. I was talking to him the most of the match. We were going back and forth, and because we know both teams, you know, you kind of could see where this was going, and you leave an underdog around, this is what happens. And Benfica let Caldas stay around, and eventually, you know, that one mistake happens, they pounce on it, and suddenly it's 1-1, and the ball won't go in at the other end, and before you know it, 90 minutes have expired, and the one thing I did not want was extra time for either team. Benfica's going to Porto next week, Caldas goes to Académica next week. I didn't want either team to play an extra 30 minutes. This is why this match was so bizarre for me. because I think the only thing that could be more heart-wrenching, if you will, more more heartbreak or more divisive, to make me more divided, would be if my own son was playing against Benfica. That's the only thing that I can think of that would have been harder to watch and harder to, or maybe it would have been easier. Maybe I'd have been able to root against Benfica if my son was playing for him, but I don't know. I don't know. Um, and I said to him many times that, Daddy doesn't know what to think right now. And as the match went on, I was more and more, proud of Caldas for the effort and for the show that they were giving, the example that they were giving of how to play football, and it was beautiful. It was football at its purest form. Yeah, Zavala makes a substitution. I know I'm rifling off these names that most of you have never heard of. I understand that, but I don't know how else to document this match and how else to talk about this. And it was the kid that I talked about that didn't end up having a good match for college. Miguel Cabello, he was subbed off, and my man Dio Clement comes in. Okay, and this is again, this is this is a guy I on most years get a happy birthday message from, on my Facebook page. This is again, this team is so interactive with the community. It's a small city, it's tight knit, and they appreciate every single supporter they have. So I've talked to a lot of these guys before, and he's coming in, and and it's hard to root against these guys at that point. And little did I know what was going to play out for Dio Clement. But again, I followed his career for a number of years. He was with the club years ago. He left for a while. He went to play at Oliveirense. He played in the second division. He's been a professional, and he's a little older now. But he came in and he's fulfilling a dream. He's getting to play against Benfica, okay, and Caldas are just digging. They're digging, digging, digging. They're holding on. They're getting a couple opportunities here and there, and if they could get an odd man rush up against the run of play, earn a corner, and the whole stadium is just on its feet. And I've been told my whole life, Caldas is not a football city. How many cities does Benfica go into and not be the home team? How many stadiums does Benfica go into and have a support like that, rooting against, or not rooting against them, but rooting for the other team? I will not accept ever again that Caldas is not a football city. Now, yes, a lot of it had to do with it being Benfica, and you could say a lot of the criticism from the more loyal fan base is that these people only show up for the Taça. The club had a great promotion going. You could take your ticket from this match at the end and trade it in for a ticket to the next home match in 2 weeks. Hope for Caldas fans listening and that happen to understand English, I plead with you to continue to support this team, because this team showed in this match that they don't belong in the Liga 3. They belong at the very least in the second division. They belong in the promotion places, not in relegation playoffs to stay up. Okay? Not just the players, but the club and the fan base and the city belongs at a higher level. Now, as the match went on, Benfica continues to push and push, and you get another one off the bar. This one, I think, was by Enzo right at the end of extra time. There is a play I forgot to mention just after 90 minutes. I think it was the 93rd minute where Thomas Militão falls on the ball. Looked clear to be a handling of the ball in the box. I think if VAR were in use in this round, then it probably would have been reviewed and called a penalty. At the same time, maybe this is homerism in me, because I've never felt this way in a Benfica match, in a penalty that should have been, that would have been for Benfica. But I found myself saying, yeah, well, he fell and his arms went down. I mean, what else is he supposed to do with his arms? But I do think now that I've looked at it that it would have been called with the VAR. That would have been a penalty. In the moment, I didn't think so, but now with the VAR, I do think that it would have been called. We also saw Auschwitz score a goal that was just slightly offside in the first half. But Yeah, I thought that could have saved both teams, 30 minutes and a lot of heartache. But the penalty was not called. We go to extra time, and again, 110 minutes. This was a moment for me, um, as a sympathizer, as a in a weird thing where I'm rooting for both teams again, and it's just unnatural to want both teams to you can't have both teams win. They can't. One of them has to lose. But I see Thomas Milito, completely done, and he can't go anymore. Just to explain the reality of what it is at this level, he comes off. They have no more defenders. College have no more defenders. Okay, they've used everybody, and they bring on. And I apologize to whoever it is that came on. I don't remember at this point. It was Andres Simões. How could I forget it? It was another player who's played his entire career with the club. Andres Simões comes on. So basically, captain for captain. It's the captain and the vice captain. The vice captain replaces the captain. And he replaces Milito. And Tarzan, the striker, moves. Tarzan, who's about my height, by the way, who's not much taller than I am. He's probably about 5'9", 5'10", at the most. Maybe he's even shorter than that. He's going to slide in at center back for the final 10 minutes against Benfica, against Petar Musa. They managed to hang on. They managed to get to penalties. And that's what my cousin sends me a message, and he goes, agora tudo é possível. Now anything is possible. And I think he was nervous that Benfica were going to lose. And again, I didn't know. I didn't know who I wanted to win this shootout, to be honest with you. I want Benfica to win this cup, but what a moment it would have been. I didn't know. But once they stepped up to the spot, and, the first one was taken by Enzo, perfectly taken, 1-0. And my boy Diogo steps up to take it for Caldas, and I'm just like, I'm coming to the grasp. One of these guys is going to miss, right? Dio Clement steps up, he puts it over the bar, and I'm feeling for him. Okay, I am. I'm happy because Benfica, I think, is going to survive now. Once they took the lead, I didn't think Benfica were going to miss a penalty once they got the lead. Okay, because the pressure is so much greater on the team that shoots second. I always told players, when you go into a shootout, when I was coaching, I told the captain, you want to shoot first. This is why. Because once somebody misses, that team that shoots second is always playing catch up. If you're shooting first and you fall behind, you're still giving your goalkeeper a chance to save you. This time, we were. I shouldn't say we. They're both we in my world, but Dio Clement misses this one, and I felt for him. I did. I felt for him. I go, that's just something that is hard to live with. I was explaining to my son, and I said, listen, Daddy played in a couple of these, and I fortunately did not miss my penalty in the, I think, 3 total shootouts I played in my career. Okay. I converted in all 3 times, fortunately, because I can't even imagine what it feels like to be Dio Clement and to be the one that misses. Although I shot him a message this morning, and I reminded him that even Messi misses in shootouts. And I told him, listen, Messi lost 2 Copa America finals missing penalties. So even the greats miss. And I told him to pick his head up and beat Academica next week. And, after that, Ristic steps up. Ristic scores. The next one for Caldas, I believe, was the Colombian, Jordi. I think it was him. It might have been either Jordi or Leandro. I don't remember, but they scored. And then Auschwitz scores. And then Andres Simões, the substitute that came on, he scores. And then Chiquinho scores, which Chiquinho, as I said in the preview, took a penalty kick at that very same goal in 2018, and he missed. It was saved by Luis Paulo, the goalie that did not play in this one, the goalie that was on the bench. This one was not saved. Wilson Suarez did guess correctly, but Chiquinho managed to go high. The goalie went low. So, it was a the ball found its way in, which was fantastic because it's, very difficult to convert a penalty in a shootout. It's much different than when you take it in. Now my SofaScore just reloaded, and I have the starting lineups again. Let's see who I missed. I missed Enrique up front for Caldas, and I missed Miguel Cabello. Okay, but anyway, I just want to make sure I got all their names in there. Um, Anyway, Chiquinho converts. Up steps Tarzan, and this is a funny story with Tarzan, because I was explaining to my dad that we, again, I was asking, how do we know them again? How do we know his family again? He goes, what's his? He goes, what's his name? And he's wearing Rodriguez on his jersey. I go, yeah, they call him Tarzan. And my dad, without missing a bit, goes, oh, Tarzan. They own the funeral home. So that's the connection apparently to his family, is that they're the funeral home owners. But he steps up, and I'm saying, I said to my son, I said, I don't want him to miss. All right, Clement is already crushed. I don't want another one of them to miss. So he converted, and I said, all right, João Mario wins it here, and we're all happy. And João Mario steps up without any doubt. The goalkeeper goes one way, João Mario goes the other. Benfica win in a penalty shootout against Caldas. I don't know if I'll ever get to see these two clubs play each other again, so I very much cherish this. I'm gonna keep this on my DVR for as long as I possibly can. I don't ever want to lose a copy of this match. I want to, go back to it in 10 years and rewatch it and remember it. It wasn't until the match was over that it hit me that I enjoyed it, because I was just feeling so many different things. But last night I could hardly sleep. I was just so happy with everything. It couldn't have been better, honestly. I was so happy both ways. Benfica advanced. They survived. Caldas gave such a good account of themselves. Benfica were very classy guests, and Caldas were super classy hosts. I couldn't have been more proud of the fair play in this one. And I hope that the 6,000 plus that were lucky enough to get into the ground had the time of their lives last night. I hope that, Nuno Januário and Thomas Militão and especially those two, because they've been there for so long, and André Simões and João Tarzan all had the night of the, I hope it lived up to their expectations, regardless of the result. And this is a game that people in the city are going to talk about for a long, long time. A long time, I think. The way my grandfather talked to me about the day Benfica went to the Mata and lost, I'm going to tell my grandson someday about the day Benfica went to the Mata and won on penalties, and the Caldas took them all the way to the brink, took them all the way to the shootout. I'm going to tell them about how great the atmosphere was. I can tell my grandkids that, and I believe, I'm going to say, on the way to winning the cup, Benfica had this tough stop in Caldas, and in the end, the team with more, obviously the better team won. Gonçalo Paredes of Caldas had a post-game interview, and he said the same. He said, he was very proud of the way the team played and how they got as far as they did against a team that's clearly, got stronger players, not just full professionals. Benfica has internationals. Benfica's got guys going to the World Cup in a month. All right. And for both, this was just a match I'll never forget. Again, I apologize. This was like the least Benfiquista episode I have ever put out. I am happy Benfica are in the cup still. I want them to win it. The draw is going to be, by the way, this Thursday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to sharing the screen here. And we're going to look at the results from the rest of the action in the Taça de Portugal, round number 3. Okay, I'm going to put it up right now for you guys. And here is round 3. It started on Friday. Olhanense 0, Bissad 2. That club is still hanging on by a thread, and it's obnoxious. They need a new identity. They need to fuse with somebody. They need to combine with another club and lose that Bissad, identity, or get relegated to the Liga 3, one or the other, and play the real Belenenses. Moreirense, they're on fire this year. After being relegated last year, they are on fire. They're still unbeaten. They beat Villafranquense 3-0. Amora take First Division Estoril to the limit. Again, Amora is in the Liga 3. They lose 3-2 at home to Estoril, and as you know, managed by Nelson Verissimo. Fontinhas 0, Aroca 2, Nacional 3, Oliveirense 1 after extra time, Canelas 1, Vitória Guimarães 3, and then in the trend that started here and would end with some 8 Liga Portugal teams being eliminated in this round. That's another thing to remember. Okay, for everything, for as difficult as this match was for Benfica, they did get through. 8 teams from the first division did not get through. Here's the first one of them, and it is Marítimo, and it can't get any worse for Marítimo this season, I don't think. Marítimo are really struggling, and that is compounded by losing 4-2 at Mafra in extra time. São Joanense eliminate Belenenses, the real Belenenses, 3-2 after extra time. Serpa 0, Gil Vicente 3, Trofense 0, Famalicão 1, Académico de Viseu 1, Oriental, the historic Oriental. This is a team out of the districts, out of the district leagues, out of the Distrital. They come up just short against the Liga 2 side. It's Académico Viseu 1, Oriental 0. Imortal 0, Farense 3, Penafiel 4. Penafiel go to penalties with Vizela, and the match ends 3-3 after 90, and Vizela win 2-1 on penalties. So Vizela advance to round 4. Tondela eliminate the Azorians. They beat Santa Clara 2-0 at home. Tondela also having a good season after being relegated. They're a candidate to come right back up. They advance in Portugal, and there you see FOTMOB has it as a 4-6 score, but it is Caldas 1, Benfica winning 5-3 on penalties, and Benfica advance. They'll be in the draw on Tuesday. The draw takes place Tuesday for round 4. Round 4 will be played between November 8th and November 10th. And then today's matches, ARS Martinho 0, Casa Pia, they advance with 2 goals. The Casapianos move on, and they'll await their next opponent like everyone else. Bragança beaten in extra time by Pevidã SC. Montalegre beaten by São João Ver 3-1. Courense lose 6-0 to Camacha. Dumiense / CJP2. I have no idea who they are. They beat Real Massima 2-1, and maybe that's somebody that Bisad can merge with and make into a real club someday. We'll see. But they advance to round 4. Machico, I believe they're a team from Madeira. They take down another first division side, Boa Vista Fall. Patís Boa Vista Fall. I believe this was in Madeira. Where was this match played? It doesn't even say. Okay, I believe Machico is... I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on it. Machico advances 1-0. Oliveira do Hospital from Liga 3 also victorious after extra time, 3-2 over Rio Ave. That's what Rio Ave gets for their comments about Benfica's parenting. And what they get, a team that beat Porto, and I'll remain thankful for those 3 points you took from them, but not too sad to see Rio Ave go out here. Pero Pinheiro 4-0 winners over Pombal. Tirsense 1, Leixões 4, Valadares Gaia 3, Chaves 2. That one's after extra time, and another Liga Portugal first division side out in round 3. Thanks to Valadares Gaia, a team from the Campeonato Portugal, if I'm not mistaken, the 4th division. Vianense 1, Beira-Mar 2. Beira-Mar also in the Campeonato Portugal. Vila Verdense 2, Portimonense 0. Bye-bye, Porto B. Bye-bye. Go sell more guys to Porto, why don't you? Um, they're out. Porto's Southern Brothers in a big upset. Another Division One team or Liga Portugal team falls. And here's another one. It's Passos de Ferreira traveling to the Bonfim. And Vitória Setúbal are 2-0 winners over Passos de Ferreira. In the Azores, in São Miguel, Rabo Peixe 2, Sertanense 1. Felgueiras 1, Braga 2. Even Braga had trouble in this round. And here's the upset of the round. It is Varzim 1, Sporting Clube Portugal 0. Ruben Amorim's Lions are bounced in round number 3. And, of course, Sérgio Conceição's Dragons make the short trip to Anadia, and they win comfortably 6-0. So now there are no more limits on the draw. Whoever wins, whoever comes out of the hat, plays whoever comes out of the hat, okay? There's the possibility of a Benfica Porto in the next round. So we'll see what the draw gives us on Tuesday. So those are the results in round 3 of the Portuguese Cup. And again, coming up this week, very, very big week for Benfica. They're going to play against Porto on Friday. There's no Champions League this week, but there is Women's Champions League, and that's going to allow me to segue to the final bit here where I'm going to tell you to stay tuned because coming perhaps later today, perhaps tomorrow. I'm going to record it as soon as I hit stop here. It's a women's edition of Mr. Benfica. The women are top of the Liga BPI once again. They picked up a big win this weekend over Famalicão, and they're on their way to a historic match midweek this week. Benfica's women will play Barcelona in the Women's Champions League. I'll tell you all about how they got there in the next episode. But that's going to do it for this one. Remember, we are Benfica. Let's stay together. Let's not jump on this team. This team is going to give us a lot of happiness this season. And I believe Friday we're going to be happy with the performance. I do have my reservations about the referees. As always, every time we play in that stadium, I'm nervous about the referees and the VAR, the VAP, as I call it, the Video Apport. And who knows what's going to happen in this one? Who knows what kind of surprises are in store? I do hope that Benfica arrive to the stadium safe. I don't want to. Please, no stonings, Porto. Stop stoning the buses, please. Police, do your job. Do your job up there, okay? But I think Benfica have as good a chance as they have had in my memory to go in there and win at the Dragão on Friday. I think they have everything there. If Rafa and Nedge are ready to go, and we go in and with the same attitude we went into Paris and we went into Turin, and the attitude we used at the Luge against PSG as well, I think that Benfica will win if they do all of those things, okay? And I believe, we have the better team, the better manager, the better players. The only thing that's going to hurt us is ourselves and the referees. So hopefully, it goes well on Friday. I hope that all the hiccups are out of the way. All of the mistakes are out of the way. We're going to clean that up. We're going to refocus. And I think on Friday, 3 points to Benfica. I am confident about this match, more so than I think I've been for any Porto-Benfica match that I can think of. And it'll send a statement. Certainly, we have a chance to put 6 points between us and our biggest rival. That's going to do it. Remember, in the words of Roger Schmidt, hashtag, if you love football, you love Benfica. Thank you for listening. Again, I apologize as this was a less Benfica-centered episode than usual, but this is probably the only time you're ever going to, unless things change, this is probably the only time we'll ever have a Caldas Benfica episode, so I had to be fair here, and I just had to be honest with everybody, and I feel like I was. And I hope you all will appreciate that from me. And I hope to hear from you soon. Coming very soon, episode 146. Again, we're going to cover the women's team. That's for sure. And I'm going to try to get something else out during the week, but I can't promise that. So we'll see what happens. Until then, enjoy your football. Enjoy your week. Okay, everyone, have a good week. Caldas fans listening, support your local club, not just in the cup. And again, Benfica, let's get behind this team on Friday, okay? Let's line the streets, the normal places where we congregate in Porto. Let's fill those places. Let's get behind this team. Okay, the ones that are lucky enough to go into the stadium. Number one, take care of yourselves. Stay safe in that jungle. Okay, stay safe in that. I don't know what to call it, but be safe around those criminals. Um, stay away from the super Dragões, obviously. Stay out of your alleyways and go Benfica. If you're not sitting with the traveling Benfica supporters, wear your neutral colors, okay? Take care of yourselves. This is going to be tough in that standpoint, but I believe we have everything in this team to go there and get the result we want, the results that we need. And I do believe that when I come back to you next week, Benfica will still be top of the table. All right. And again, enjoy it all this week. Carrega Benfica. Força Benfica. We are Benfica. I'm the Mr. Mike Agostinho. You can follow me at the Twitter address right there on your screen if you watch it, at Mike Agostinho, at MikeAgostinho, and follow the show at Benfica Mister on Twitter, okay, or on Instagram at Mr. Benfica. Carrega Benfica once again. Damo 38. Let's go. Have a good week, everybody. And this time, I'm not going to forget to play the closing credits. I went through all the work to create this video of closing credits. So I'm going to send you away with the closing credits on YouTube. For those of you watching, those of you listening on the podcast, well, you're going to get the usual closing. But have a good night, everybody. Carrega Benfica.